Good afternoon, Jacob Wheeler, Red Rock Roofing, standing for greatness. Today I'm here at 945 35th Street doing a quick roof inspection. Hannah, thank you so much for allowing us to get up on the roof today and give you a quick inspection. Bear with me while I make my way up the ladder. The first thing I usually want to point out is to take a look inside of your guttering system. Now, Hannah, in the front elevation here, as you can clearly see, you do not have a gutter system. So that's something that we've talked about. I know in regards to our bid, we'll have that attached to it for you, but just want to point out there are no gutter systems on the front elevation. There are a little bit on the rear elevation. Now, next thing I want to point out is what's called drip edge. Drip edge, by code, is a 2-inch by 2-inch metal flange that encapsulates these eaves. This is actually code. You do have that. That looks good. I do just want to point out that you do have some felt paper. I can see this because you have a tear in your shingles here. Now, we would want to usually use a synthetic underlayment. So that was probably code at the time, but it's definitely out of date now. Moving along. Bear with me while I make my way up the ladder. I just want to point out a few things up here. First thing I want to point out is what's called collateral damage. Collateral damage is when hail hits the soft metals up here on the roof, showing the indication that there was a hailstorm. So you can see that here. However, your larger, stronger vents, such as your turtle vents here, actually do not have any dings on them, so that looks pretty good. So the thing I would look for next is what's called spalding. Spalding is when hail hits the shingle, dislodges the granules, showing the fiberglass underneath. Here's a great example of where you can see some of the fiberglass here. It's also actually soft to the touch. So there are a lot of areas here that may be construed as hail damage, but because of the age, wear and tear of this roof, it's going to be very hard to identify what is hail and what is just normal wear and tear. As a whole, the roof is pretty shot. Don't want to sugarcoat it for you at all, Hannah. If you take a look over on this side, you can see a ton of manufacturer defects where over 50% of the granules on these shingles are actually gone. Definitely a concern, definitely time to know what your options are. I know we talked a little bit about the flat roof section as well, so I want to take a little time to talk about that. This has been shingled improperly. We should be using a rolled roofing system for the flat roof, which was something that we will change when we re-roof this. And you can kind of see why too. A lot of the wind's just hitting these shingles, dislodging a ton of them, so you have a ton of shingles missing back here. Other than that, I know we also talked about ventilation. You can see on the back here, you have not one, but 2 total ventilation vents. These are the old school turtle vents. Your house, in fact, would be a fantastic option to have a ridge vent. What a ridge vent is, it'll go up here on the top, on the peak, from end to end. And what that'll do is it'll actually guarantee that you have the proper air circulation up here, which unfortunately you just don't right now. If you can hear closely, as I step, every one of my steps is very crispy. And the reason for that is the lack of ventilation. So definitely something that we want to change and something we would add for you when you're ready to re-roof this home. Next thing I want to point out, some very important issues. So right here, this is your boot jack. Normally there's a rubber seal, a rubberized seal that stretches over this pipe to make sure no moisture can get in. As you can see, this is so old that it's deteriorated completely, allowing any kind of moisture to migrate. Speaking of moisture, lots of these right here. This is a nail hole, right? So this should be siliconed up to make sure no moisture can get underneath that system. Unfortunately, almost everywhere I look up here, I'm seeing that. So that's definitely one of my major concerns. Try to get out of the light here so you can see that a little better. This one's actually missing more of the shingle back over here. This one's lifted up. And again, we have a ton of nail holes up here, just waiting for my water to unfortunately migrate here with it not being sealed. And again, you're missing more shingles. So for lack of better words, this roof is totally shot. It's definitely time to know what your options are. I don't think that you're going to be a great candidate in regards to an insurance claim. However, it's definitely time to get this re-roofed. Jacob Wheeler, Red Rock Roofing, standing for greatness. Thank you very much, Hannah.